Let's get real. Do you have a difficult time having hard conversations? If you do, I'm glad you're here. It's Sensei Tosh, and I want to talk about mastering difficult conversations with staff and patients. We're going to talk about that today. Difficult conversations are an inevitable part of running a successful practice, whether it's addressing performance issues with staff or discussing financial concerns with patients. Handling these conversations effectively can strengthen trust, improve communication, and lead to better outcomes. I want to help break this down so we can navigate this and you can feel confident in doing it. So, tough conversations won't be a big deal for you anymore. You're going to welcome those because it helps you to grow as a leader as well. So I want you to shift your mindset. It's about growth. It's not about conflict. And this is where people get so scared. If I have this conversation, then they're going to feel like I'm being confrontational, or this is going to cause conflict. And then they're going to be upset and this person's going to quit. So I'm going to stop you and tell you, don't anticipate, just participate. Go into the conversation. And I'm going to give you some tips throughout this, some do's and don'ts, and how to handle this so that you feel confident to go in and communicate. Many practice owners and managers avoid tough conversations out of fear of conflict. Instead of viewing them as confrontations, reframe them and look at it as opportunities for growth and improvement. Patrick Lencioni is one of my favorites, and he mentions this in the 5 dysfunctions of a team, that it's okay to engage in healthy conflict if trust is at the foundation. So remember, the first step is building trust. You should have that foundation already laid with your team members. There's trust and respect there. Your patients already have that with you. Say they're under care for weeks or a month or something like that. They already have established trust in you to provide care. Sometimes financial things come up. They feel nervous to tell you because they don't want to disappoint you, but create a place where a person can have conversations with you, because at the foundation of that, there's trust. So for teams, healthy conflict breeds new ideas. For your staff member, a conversation about performance isn't a punishment. It's about helping them succeed and to express their gifts and potential. For patients, a discussion about patient payments, treatment plans, it's not about punishing or pushing them, It's not about pushing them or being overbearing, but it's about helping them to receive the benefits in their health and well-being by having the care that you're providing. This helps them to keep on care while feeling confident that they've made the right decision. When you approach these conversations with the right intention, they become so much easier. So let all of the negative things go that you might be feeling so that you can have great conversations, whether it's with your team or with the patients. Prepare before the conversation. A lack of preparation can lead to defensiveness and miscommunication before addressing an issue. So take time to take a moment and say, what do I really want to say here? Be proactive instead of reactive. Gather the facts, have specific examples ready instead of general statements. No one likes that. Be very specific. Consider their perspective. What concerns might they have? What objections might come up? Start thinking about that. Decide on your goal. What is the ideal resolution? Keep it clear and realistic. Know that before you go into the conversation so you can be prepared and moving in the direction of what is the end result that you're looking for. Plan your tone and your wording. Use neutral, non-accusatory language to keep the conversation constructive. Role play. It's always helpful to role play the conversation with a trusted source or other manager. This prepares you for the conversation. So when I say role play, the person you're role playing with is throwing out maybe emotions or objections or communication. So you can kind of be prepared at what might happen during that meeting. So I put a couple of conversation or examples in here. So if you're dealing with a staff member, instead of saying, you're always late and this is a problem, why don't you say, is everything okay? I've noticed you've been arriving after your scheduled time 3 times this week. Can you help me understand what's going on? That feels a lot better. I love the reference of help me to understand. People want to be helpful instead of accusing somebody of something. Hey, help me to understand. Is everything okay in your world? Those are great statements to start with. If it's with a patient, instead of saying, you need to pay your balance today, say, I understand there's some financial concerns and, these things can be challenging. Let's explore some payment options that work best for you. Okay, so reframe, take a positive approach on how you're communicating with your patients and with your team members. Create a safe, open environment. A defensive response is often a reaction to feeling attacked or unheard. So I want you to set the tone by choosing the right time and place. Have the discussion in a private, quiet setting. Also, ask your team members when you first hire them, how do they like to receive feedback? Okay. I hate the word constructive criticism because there's criticism in that phrase. We talk about coaching our team members to success or giving them feedback so they can be successful. So ask, how do they like to receive feedback? Write that down, keep it in their employee file so you can create an environment that they feel safe to be able to openly communicate, receive feedback instead of being defensive. It's a natural human response to get defensive if somebody's feeling attacked. So we as leaders have to remember to use the right words and create the right environment. And then start with empathy. Acknowledge their perspective before jumping into an issue. Always ask, how are you doing? How's everything going? Is there any challenges that you're up against? And they may just break down and tell you, yeah, my husband, his car broke down. We had to get the kids to this. And I know that I've been late and I want to apologize for that. So sometimes creating a space by asking a question is going to open the floodgates for them to say, hey, I'm really sorry. I've messed up. I've been embarrassed. I know I've been late every day this week, but this is what's going on. We're working on it. It's going to get changed. And then acknowledge them for saying that and saying, thank you so much for letting me know what's going on and for acknowledging that you have been late. We just can't have that. Encouraging dialogue. Ask open-ended questions that invite discussion rather than that person shutting down. Instead of saying you need to be more engaged with patients, I noticed during appointments that patients seem to have a lot of unanswered questions. What do you think would help improve communication during their visits? So again, come from a place of curiosity, and that usually will ignite somebody to start communicating very openly. Stay calm and solution focused. Difficult conversations can become emotional, but your role is to keep the discussion focused on solutions rather than blame. Okay? It can be a policy that's out, a procedure that's out. Normally, it's not about the person themselves, their character. It's about something that's getting missed or a policy that's not being withheld or upheld. So avoid interrupting or dismissing their concerns, over-explaining or justifying your position, letting emotions dictate the discussion. And that's hard sometimes, because some people can come at you like a grizzly bear and you want to match that and come right back at them. It's just not the right way to do it. What you should do is listen actively and acknowledge their feelings. Focus on finding a solution rather than dwelling on the problem. Okay, so what would you like to do from here? How could we best change this? How could we correct this? Let them come up with a solution, because if it comes from them, they're going to own it. If you're telling them, now you're telling them, and that can feel like micromanagement, or it can feel like discouragement to them. So ask them questions on solutions that they feel would be good. And if you're good with it, then move along. Don't stay stuck on the problem. Use I statements instead of you statements to avoid blame. I want to make sure we're working effectively as a team. How can we improve communication so we're all on the same page? Okay. So again, asking good questions. Follow up and reinforce expectations. The conversation doesn't end when the discussion's over. It's essential to follow up and reinforce expectations. If somebody isn't being held accountable, it's easy to slip into old patterns. So you're saying, hey, I'm here, I see you, I'm holding you accountable. That was part of our core values, is personal responsibility and accountability. So I'm going to digress for a quick second here, is make sure that you have rock solid core values. You're speaking about that when they get hired. You're speaking as you do reviews with them about the core values. So you're always operating off the core values. And they know when you have certain conversations, that's what it's about. So summarize key takeaways before ending the conversation so that everybody understands. Set clear next steps and timelines for any agreed upon solutions. There's the accountability portion. Check in later to ensure progress is being made. Don't just set it and forget it. Go back in and check, hold them accountable. And if that person isn't getting the things done, or they're not being accountable to what they said they were going to do, then you have a different question on, are they the right team member? Is this the right person in the right position for the organization? It's always a good idea to write a performance enhancement sheet that clearly lines out the goals, the timeline, and the accountability. Have them sign it. If a staff member is working on improving punctuality, follow up on a week and see how things are going, and acknowledge any progress. So feedback is important, positive and negative. That's always going to help. So turning tough talks into positive outcomes. What you resist persists. I'm going to say that again. What you resist persists. The thing that you're not willing to address or handle, it's going to constantly come back up again. Okay. So difficult conversations don't have to be dreaded. They are opportunities for growth, clarity, and stronger relationships. I promise you, having sometimes what feels like difficult conversation helps people grow. It solidifies the relationship. So by preparing, staying focused, staying solution focused, and following up, you can navigate these discussions with confidence and create a more cohesive, high-performing practice. If you guys need guidance on handling difficult conversations in your practice, let's work on it together. We're here to help you. If you haven't done a practice analysis with us, we'd love to do that for you. Our information is here. If you need anything, if you watch this and you're like, oh my God, please somebody help me, give us a call, 833-678-0800. But I'm going to encourage you to not be afraid to have the difficult conversations, because the difficult conversations leads to making commitments, and then ultimately that leads to getting the results that you desire. So I hope that helps. Be blessed and be a blessing. We'll see you next time.
Medical Professional Dojo, where business strategy meets medical mastery.